It's been a while, but we're finally back here on the set of Huddle Up on Northwest Access TV. I'm your host, Paul, and the people that you saw in that intro video are actually here, minus Bryce. Dustin to my left, JT to my right. Free of sickness for the most part, free of extra overtime at work.
I am back to my normal schedule. I can sleep in again. It's nice. I enjoy it.
Except on Thursdays when you're here.
No, I can sleep in on Thursdays.
Debating
still.
sports and getting owned by JT on a regular basis.
Well, JT hasn't been here for a month. It's been a while since he's owned me.
Your stress level must be really down. Like
I got my blood pressure checked, and it's the best it's been in several years.
The good news is I don't really get to bust on him too much until we really get close to football season, because I don't really talk too much trash for baseball.
You could. I mean, there's basketball, there's hockey, there's
basketball.
Things you could talk about if you wanted to.
Basketball could.
You should just go on some crazy man's hockey site and just verbatim take what they say and say it to Dustin just to get them all riled up and be like, it's not even my thoughts. I don't even have anything to say about this. I just memorized this guy is crazy. So we'll begin the show, as we do always, with our show starters. Excuse me for my voice. I'm getting over being sick because of something that we'll talk about later in our home field advantage. For me, though, I'm thinking warm weather. I'm thinking spring training. That's finally happening for baseball. For me, as a football fan, this is where I transition to my other love, which is baseball, because it's great, because it goes from February all the way to October, which really gets into the heart of football season for me. So I'm really excited. Red Sox finally making the move on JD Martinez, which will help their bats considerably.
Oh, when did that finalize?
A couple days ago. Actually, maybe yesterday morning, he arrived at spring training. So they picked up JD Martinez for 5 years, $110 million, which is a huge addition. There are now question marks as to what's going to go on with Mitch Moreland at first base and also Hanley Ramirez, because you're likely going to have JD Martinez as your overall designated hitter, which is great because he only played in 120 games last year-ish. Now he'll be able to expand that to 150 plus throughout the year, which is fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this team can do together. I think I saw Joe Kelly got hit by a pitch. God, I don't know where it was. I think in the ankle or something like that because of Brock Holt yesterday. So he's now being evaluated for what's going on with him. He's just someone that just any week, I think the Sox really needed to kind of stay healthy throughout spring training. But overall, it's almost the same cast coming back from last year, and they're the ones that won the AL East. So I'm excited to see. Again, though, Yankees made their moves too. They've got one of the craziest hitting lineups I've seen.
Yeah, well, I've been told that the Yankees are winning the World Series because they can hit home runs.
Right, exactly. They don't have to throw. They don't have to.
We don't even need spring training. Let's just hand out the trophy right now, Paul.
Well, the thing for Boston is their biggest question mark is going to be David Price. I mean, he still has a torn ligament in his elbow. You don't know what you're going to get out of him or how much you're going to get out of him, and that's really the biggest dampening spot for this team. We still don't have a lineup that is going to establish as many home runs as the rest of the league
But
does.
I don't think you need to have that either.
You don't. But in order to be one of the true competitors for the title, you got to have the pitching. And if David Price is just on this constant roller coaster, one of the other guys are going to need to step up. And as of the last couple of seasons, you don't necessarily think that's going to happen.
That's true. I'm excited to see what Chris Sale does this year, only because he's going into this season with the mentality that it's his first season. I don't know if you read that interview or not, but he said last year I came in just fire, just as much as I could, and I burnt myself out. But I'm aware that I did that. This year I want to go in it a little more methodically and really show Boston what I can do for their team. So it was really cool for me to hear that from him, saying that I'm actually really excited about showing you guys what I can really do for a first year. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, the pitching. I think there's still question marks. You still have Porcello. You still have Pomerantz. So I mean, it's at least a pitching staff. Don't make it seem like they don't have anything.
No,
if David Price can pitch an average season or something on those lines, I don't think the Red Sox are going to be in too much trouble when they come down to the season.
I think the Astros are winning the AL again this year. They
picked up Yu Darvish.
Yu Darvish was picked up by the Cubs.
Sorry.
But the Astros have, they still have one of the deepest farm systems in America, and this is a team that are set up for one heck of a run.
Okay, yeah, but you say deepest farm system this year, so don't talk about the farm system unless you plan on bringing those guys up.
Well, I think they were going to bring a couple of guys up at some point this year, but they're still good. They brought back everybody. Verlander looks like he loves it in Houston. It's going to be a team that, I think they'll have to make a move or two at the deadline, but I think it's going to be a team that
I think they
still...
proved last year they can be that team. But, I mean, like I said, we're talking spring training. It's just getting everything kind of started. It's fun to see some of the videos come from Fort Myers and places like that.
Where we all wish we were.
Where we wish we were. Don't worry, I'll be in Las Vegas soon. Enjoying
We should move the
nice
show
weather.
down there for a week. Let's just go to spring training.
I'll be there on a Thursday, so you guys want to you can just chime me in, and we'll just do the show in Las Vegas. It will be like 6 a.m., so that's kind of a burden to me. I'll probably still be at the tables, but that's fine. There's also some, in case you haven't been watching TV, the Olympics are going on, and Dustin would like to talk about my new favorite sports that I pick up every 4 years.
I have gained a respect and love again, and it happens every 4 years, kind of the same way. I love curling. It is a lot of fun to watch. And I was watching, Japan was going up against Switzerland the other day or something, and just how intense the games are. And you mentioned that America was moving on to the medal round today.
The USA just beat Canada in the semifinals, so they're going on to...
No, I do want to say one thing, and it's the only thing I'm going to say about curling, because even though I like it, we just lost like half of our viewers simply because
curling?
we're talking about curling. But, carry on.
I mean, we still
got two.
We have two viewers, one person left because of
Dan.
curling.
I think Dan's probably watching. My brother.
But no, it's just a lot of fun to watch. And you have every year you get the same bag of jokes of curling, it's not a sport. And you actually watch what they're doing. It's like these people are running on ice with sneakers. Yep. Like if you've ever been on a hockey rink with sneakers, you know that one, it's hard to keep your balance, and two, trying to chase after a rock that's going faster than you and try to sweep it down. So
I'm honestly surprised how often they don't hit the rock with their broom when they're going down. Like they're like this far away from it.
It's an amazing display in physics, and I just wanted to mention it because it was a Tuesday night. I think it was Tuesday. No, it was Monday night or something. Like Allie's flight was late, so I didn't. I had nothing to do for like 6 hours, so I watched like 3 hours of curling. Like 3 hours of curling. Because, I was able to watch it not on tape delay. I was able to just go through a live feed. And I was like, all right, that's pretty good. That's really interesting and how deep they get into it. And I just have a newfound love for this sport. I'm going to, at some point, I'm going to go up. There is a Green Mountain Curling Club. For $35, you can learn how to curl. I think I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to try to learn how to curl.
Where is this?
When you sign up for that, I am coming as a spectator.
Yeah, can you drink while you watch this? I know that there's a spot just over the border that does it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The Green Mountain Curling Club. And
yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious. I've seen video of my friends doing it, and they can't even get off the starter blocks. They're just you fall almost immediately. And there's special different. Like pads and stuff like that you can put on your shoes. It looks absolutely incredible. I would love to be able to do it.
Yeah, for $35 on Sunday, March 4th, you can go to Bedford, Quebec, which is right up the road from us. It's 10 minutes. And you can learn how to curl, and you can get a free game in for curling. So,
that's pretty cool. I would advise you to do it in a month because that's when the hype of the Olympics will be over, and it probably won't be anybody there.
It's fine.
Just letting you know.
Do it.
It's probably a good idea.
I'll take your camera.
JT, over to yourself.
I'm going to talk about the Olympics as well.
Oh, they're gone again. There you go, just like that.
I know. But since we haven't been on the show for a while, I wanted to talk about Chloe Kim. I want to talk about this 17-year-old female athlete who is just... It was nuts watching this kid out there. I mean, you watched every other girl...
Forget me if I'm wrong. It wasn't even close, right?
No, not even remotely. Every other girl knew she had to land. They had to land a trick they've never landed. Only Chloe's landed in order to even try to be competitive. And not one of them could come close. And Chloe goes out there in a final run that she'd already won the gold and just stomps it. Like, without even, like, a smidgen bit of trouble. Like, just killed it, done, over. And it was nuts to see. And, you think about the fact that this girl's 17 years old and is... it looked like it was a boy against the women. Like, it just was that far apart. And you're going, how do you get this?
I've talked about this before where, or earlier before the show, that with the U.S., it's all teenagers. The ones that are doing it. Because as a newer sport in the Olympics, we don't have someone like a Shaun White. I say on the women's side rather, like a Shaun White that we've seen throughout the years. So if Chloe Kim's going to be that person, are we ready for dominance in women's snowboarding?
I don't think she's going to be that person.
I thought you talked about women's snowboarding because, I mean, we have some athletes on the women's side, like Lindsey Vonn, that we've been seeing forever here in the Olympics. So
yeah, I'm talking about Chloe Kim specifically. Like, are we ready for? Because, like I said, she was absolutely dominant this year. So, are we ready to see that throughout the next?
I think the way
16 years.
I think the way our system is set up, you're going to get these kids that come in and they're going to have 1, maybe 2 Olympics where they do really well, but then you're going to have that next 16, 17-year-old coming up through the ranks. And I think that's just kind of where it's at this point because kids are getting on these mountains so young.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're not, the speed skater from USA, she picked up speed skating 4 months ago.
No.
Yeah, she had skated her whole life, but only started training for speed skating like 4 months ago, and was competing this year for the Olympics. It does happen. People that they don't really have, they are competitive athletes, but they've never jumped into a different sport.
And that's the thing about the Olympics.
You can joke about movie Cool Runnings.
Oh yeah,
it did happen.
Yeah,
but also
people that weren't able to do sprinting. Okay, they became bobsledders. You can jump sport to sport. So,
and that's the thing about the Olympics is that it's every 4 years. So it's like you get plenty of time to learn some of these sports and get them down. And if you're in a nation that doesn't have a lot of people competing for those spots, you can strike some gold and qualify sometimes. I think what you're talking about is perfectly accurate because what is her last name again? Kim. So next Olympics she'll be what, 21?
So 21 years old. Yeah.
So she'll have a dominant Olympics there, and then 4 years after that she'll be 25. She'll still be making the Olympic team. She'll still be on our Olympic team. Will she be the best snowboarder? I don't know. Maybe she's towards the top, but there will be another class because it will have been 8 years since that time. There will be another class of people who are just as good or, getting better and are pushing the cutting edge because, technology advances in everything. And
it's because of the popularity of the sport itself. I mean, that...
Well, like you said, more kids are getting on the mountain sooner and sooner. But I think, to my point, it doesn't really matter. You can do it whenever you want. I mean, I was thinking that I have a cousin that snowboards, thinking, he's 10 years old, or 10 or 11 years old, he'll have to get on the mountain. He should have been on the mountain years ago. And then I keep thinking, maybe not. Maybe if he puts 5 years of snowboarding into hard work, I mean, he could be playing he could be in the Olympics, in 8 years, something like that. So it's just kind of cool to think about it, specifically, I guess, for USA. It doesn't really matter how old you are. You can really pick something up quickly, and if you're just good at it and you put the hard work in, I mean, you can
look at people like Shaun White on the flip side of it. I mean, clearly his last Olympics, and once again, I think the Japanese guy was pretty close to Shaun White's final run.
Yeah, it was a point
but Shaun White
like
was, I mean, that was beautiful what he was able to accomplish out there. And again, there are still so many young snowboarders, but Shaun White's just kind of knows the tricks and how the judges go to kind of make sure that he lands what he needs to. But I think especially with the women, I think it's just becoming so much more competitive because it is so much more popular than I think it has been for decades, or at least the decades it's been around.
It's been around. It's been a while since we've been on the show before Super Bowl. So I wanted to give JT, you are the resident Eagles fan, if you had a little bit of a quick monologue or something that you'd like to say about.
Fly, Eagles, fly. No. It was a great game. It was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I'm sure you were no different than I was, staring at the TV going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I mean, there was no guarantee there. I thought the refs did overall a pretty good job. I think there was a couple missed calls on both sides, but that is what it is. I think it really came down to a couple of really big moments, and I think Philly just was able to make the big moment hit.
There's
God, quarterback Nick Foles.
There's times where we've said that when you play the Patriots, you have to not take your foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
Keep pushing, keep going for, keep making, challenge them.
Yeah.
And Philly did that. They're the first team to do that in a long time.
Well, they had that fourth down play where believe the ball was either close to the halfway, the center, or it was on the Eagles. Was it on the Eagles' own end, or like on the Eagles' own 45 or something?
That fourth down play.
There was
there was the big one that was in like the fourth
fourth
quarter.
down play
the
was
fourth quarter. Remember, this game was like a month ago, okay? Like the fourth quarter, and they were driving down, and it would have been a chance for Tom Brady to get the ball back with like 4 minutes. The Eagles went for it on fourth down, and they got it. And that was the moment, like, you see every other team that has played the Patriots, the Falcons, the Jaguars, the teams that have played them in these big games, punt it there. You see all these teams punt it there. Mm. And what Peterson was just willing to do was he was just willing to keep his foot on the gas, like you've mentioned. And, hey, look, it actually worked. If you're aggressive against the Patriots, it sometimes backfires, but more often
don't get me wrong.
not.
I think every Philly fan watching that game at the end of the fourth quarter was saying, "Oh crap."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you had Tom Brady with the ball with over 2 minutes left and 2 timeouts, I think it was. Yeah. It was almost like, here's the end of the storybook. We've read this a million times.
Even after that turnover, when he had the ball for like what, 45 seconds left?
45, 50 seconds.
I was watching. I was like, oh no, not again,
I mean,
again.
and they got it to the end zone. I give the Patriots all the credit in the world. They did not give up on that game. They, at least I know for some other Philly fans I know, were holding their breath even in the second possession, where there was like no time left, because it's something that the fact that they were down by 8 could still mean they could still tie the game and go into overtime.
I mean, when you see the quarterback of the Patriots throw a touchdown against your team with 5 seconds left to go, like I did this season myself, even if he's got 45 seconds on the ball in the 20, it's like, oh no, here we go. Somebody's going to blow a coverage. Somebody's going to get a long gain.
There's a lot of people that kind of criticize Tom Brady's legacy with this game, and I feel like those are the people that just aren't paying attention. Those are your Tom Brady haters, because this is the one game I would think that you can't, and honestly, you could say that for every game. I'd say the 2007 Super Bowl, the 18-1 season, is the one that I would criticize Brady the most for losses. The last one I wouldn't, against the Giants, because he left the field with the ball, with the lead. And this one as well, he put up the craziest numbers that Super Bowl has ever seen. Mm-hmm. So
this game was not Tom Brady's fault in any way, shape, or form.
No. And I think it only should scare teams more that at 40 years old, he just threw 500 yards in the Super Bowl. And
I do want to just say that the show before the Super Bowl, the last time we were together, I did say there'd be like no defense for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I said this is nothing about defense. I'd say
that was an understatement, because that was a crazy. As a Patriots fan, it was a great game. I really did enjoy it. I was nervous the entire time, but I did really enjoy being able to watch it. I thought that it was just a very well played offensive game on both sides.
With the trick plays, everything was just. It was different. It was a different kind of Super Bowl. It was not your typically called. It wasn't your typical game. And it was fun to see. I look forward to what comes next year. Obviously,
in Philly, you don't have many question marks, but
we have one person on our starting lineup that is not signed next year.
Right.
One. So that makes a huge difference.
And isn't it Blunt? Isn't he?
No. It's a defensive player. But
Long? I think he was only 1 year.
No, Long's got a 3-year contract. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, we still have Nick Foles, we still have Carson Wentz, and like all the controversy of do you trade Foles? Do you trade him? You don't have to by any stretch of the imagination, because the two of them are making less than almost all the other quarterbacks in the league.
That's the thing. Like,
hold on, let me kind of point it out. Yes, you trade him. You absolutely trade him, because you get something for him.
No, you don't.
He's going to walk after next year, and he's already proven that he's an MVP Super Bowl quarterback.
But there's a caveat to this. You have a guy who was truly considering walking out the door and never playing the game again until the Eagles said, "No, come here.
Yeah.
Let's make this work." I think he is the kind of guy who, in the right system, yes, he can thrive. But I think the teams that are going to want him are not the right system, and he's not going to thrive, and he's going to have that same downfall he had before. And I think it really, whether they trade him or don't trade him, depends on a conversation that I think they honestly, as an organization, will have with him of saying, do you want to go and try to be a starting quarterback someplace else? Because you're not going to be here.
If you're ownership, you don't even give him the option.
I think if you're ownership, you realize that
you don't owe him anything, he doesn't owe you anything.
For $7 million.
That's the way that free agency works right now in the NFL.
But The downfall is you're not guaranteed Wentz coming back to start the year because of that injury.
Well, I didn't say trade him now. I'm saying like towards trade deadline in the middle of the season. That's when you get rid of him. You get something for him.
I think the smart move is
He's not the person you're going to need going down the stretch.
Yes, he might be because we've learned how valuable the backup quarterback is this
one
past
out of
year.
one times, Dustin. 1 out of 1 time. It's such a small sample size of being able to say that.
If
It's
you have
insane.
a backup quarterback that can lead your team to a Super Bowl, and all you have to do is pay him $7 million to be on that roster this year, you are paying him $7 million as that insurance policy because he has proven that he can come in.
If that were the case, Jimmy
produce.
Garoppolo would have still been on that roster.
Jimmy Garoppolo fetched a second-round pick and just got the biggest contract in NFL history.
But what I'm saying is he's the same backup, Dustin. It doesn't prove anything to keep him or not. You can get rid of him and get something for him.
I don't think the third or fourth round pick that a team like the Eagles would get for Nick Foles would be worth.
He just won you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You think he's only going to be worth a third or fourth round pick?
No, he would be worth a first or a second.
Well, I mean,
Absolutely
I think that's
so.
what they. If they give him,
He's not a Jimmy Garoppolo where you've only
He's
seen
proven.
5 games out of him.
Right,
He's had seasons of playing.
now, if a team gives the Eagles, if the team calls the Eagles up and says we're offering you
He's currently a
first
starting
rounder,
quarterback.
You pull
I
the
get
trigger
that Jimmy
on that,
Garoppolo had a
obviously.
crazy stretch at the end of the year with the 49ers, but he's still unproven.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with someone like with Nick Foles, he's had proven seasons. He's also won a Super Bowl.
I think
He's
unless
worth
if you
in
get
a third round
really,
pick.
unless if you get a really, really good offer, like 2 first rounders, I say you hold on to him for $7 million for a
No
small
one's worth
cap
2
hit.
first rounders.
I mean, hey, whatever you get, but unless if it's a big deal that will like really, I don't know.
Here's
what
the
word
thing:
for
the
it
Eagles
is,
can put out
but-
whatever they want. They can say whatever they want
Yeah.
for him
Oh, yeah.
because, I think
Because they don't have to trade him. They have no need.
come towards the trade deadline, I see them getting rid of him because I see that they're going to have faith in Wentz going forward. That's their quarterback of the future. It's not Nick Foles.
Oh, absolutely.
If Wentz isn't the quarterback of the future, I have no idea what the Philadelphia organization is doing because that means you put trust in Nick Foles to take care of, and it might work out. But this kid Wentz he was your MVP
Wentz
last
is the
year.
quarterback of the future. He's proven that he's a good NFL
And
quarterback.
even Foles has come out and said that. I mean, there's no question in the locker room on who the starting quarterback is, and there's no fight for that role, which is kind of why I said I think it really is a conversation piece for this organization of saying we have an up-and-coming quarterback that we need to keep healthy. We're not guaranteed to see if he comes back to start, which is why I don't think he'll be traded by draft.
No, I didn't think so that either.
But I think it's a question mark. I think by all means, if the team is offered the absurd thing, you're going to take it because
teams
you
have
have to.
Teams have offered crazier.
Absolutely.
For less.
But at the same token, it's one of those times where it's really unique because the Eagles don't have a need to do anything. They have no overt need of saying that we need to get rid of him or we need to fill a different
really
position.
well.
And because of that, they don't have to do anything. Even if they leave Foles for one more season.
Where's the Eagles organization now? Their offensive coordinator's gone. Because that has a lot to do with it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
doesn't
I mean, we saw Atlanta lose their offensive coordinator and not be able to score a touchdown for 3/4 of the season. So
That's just who Atlanta hired.
well, regardless, but it makes a difference.
Still same stat. It's still the same roster.
Same roster, but
You should
sorry.
be able to get. You should be
You
able
lose the offensive coordinator and that play calling changes and things kind of change. So we'll see. I think that really comes down to chemistry, but at the end of the day, I think you have a coach like Doug Peterson who's kind of masterminded this team, and you have watched a team that had so much controversy under Chip Kelly, who were going after one another, were going after the coaches, to watching these guys on the sideline, and they look like the happiest bunch of professional athletes you'll ever see.
Everybody is when they're winning.
Absolutely. But it's a change of mentality. Because they weren't necessarily winning last
true.
season. Or not Super Bowl season, but the
Remember
season before.
the Panthers when they were winning, everything was happy-go-lucky. They were taking selfies on the sidelines.
But this is
What happens
slightly
when you
different.
lose?
Because they weren't the number 1 seed going in the year before. You know, this was a great season, or the last season was great, but the year before when Doug Peterson started, you saw that mentality change. And that's really more so of what I'm talking about. And I think as long as they kind of can fill that stuff in, losing your quarterback coach, I don't think that makes much of a difference.
On the other side of that ball, the Patriots, there's now talk that they won't be hiring a defensive coordinator, that Bill Belichick will be taking over as the defensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels, after his magic trick in Indy, is back with New England for next year. I think their only biggest puzzle piece that they're missing right now is whether or not Gronkowski is going to come back or not. I kind of feel like he is going to come back. For how many years? For how many years? I have no idea, but I feel like he would come back, especially now that that core is still there. I'm curious to see what would happen if Belichick takes on the defensive job duties and doesn't hire a defensive coordinator, because that's kind of like old school Belichick. That's what I kind of miss. He had his hands into that defense a lot when I think it was not Charlie Weiss.
Bruschi?
No, Roman. I'm going to forget his name.
Romeo Crennel.
Romeo Crennel. He had his hands in that defense a lot those first 3 or 4 years. So I'd be curious to see how more disciplined they are this year now that Matt Patricia is no longer with them. So
thank God for Romeo Crennel.
I think the Patriots are kind of in a really interesting spot, and I'm curious to see kind of what happens with it. I would expect Gronkowski to come back at least for the next year, but I think at this point you are well aware of that next injury. Mm-hmm. Is that switch?
Sure.
I
think the switch already been hit. I just don't know I don't know how long he's going to come back for.
No, but I mean that's the point. Is he's not playing an entire season without getting hurt. So at the end of the day, that next time is really just that I'm done. The whole what's his face magic act crap.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. Clearly, there has to be some sense of something.
You mean the Colts coaching legend, Josh McDaniels?
Of simply going to him and saying, you are next up, and it's probably coming sooner rather than later.
I'd love to know what they offered him, honestly. There's talk about his contract is different.
You'll never know.
I really want to
never know.
They must. The only thing I could think of is they're saying that we want you to draft your quarterback this year. We'll let you draft your quarterback, someone that you feel comfortable with in this draft. So that way you can develop him under Brady, because it's unlikely Brady's going to play for the next 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. It's unlikely that Belichick's going to be there as well. If they can win the Super Bowl next year, that might be the last time we see Belichick and Brady and McDaniels in the same room together.
Oh, yeah.
Because Belichick has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't want to coach into his 70s. I think he's 65 or 66. So he's getting close to that mark where he doesn't want to keep coaching. He doesn't want to do this until that's the only thing he's doing. So I'd just be really curious to see what direction that McDaniels, how much more responsibilities he has this year. So there's a lot of question marks that he kind of has to answer as well. I think I really was just confused overall from the beginning why Indy wanted McDaniels in the first place. Because I get that he's a coach, but there's just so much bad blood between Indianapolis and New England. Yeah. It was actually baffling to me that he was going to go there and be okay with going there after everything that they did to them back in 2014 and 2015. So just from the start, I didn't like that deal.
No.
So I was just really, I was ecstatic. I was jumping up and down when I saw that he was staying in New England. So for someone, and of both coaches, McDaniels or Patricia, I was excited that McDaniels was going to be sticking around. There's been a lot of shakeup in the NBA for free agency. Cleveland's pretty much just said goodbye and brought in a whole new roster.
We shouldn't say there's been a ton of shakeup. Cleveland's changed.
Cleveland just hit the big red button.
No, there's been how many people stayed? You had LeBron.
Like 6.
You had
they
LeBron.
Traded away 6 players and 2 picks.
Yeah, you had LeBron, J.R. Smith, and Kevin Love. Those are your.
No, J.R.'s gone.
Oh, J.R. was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much to change. But
no, J.R.'s still there.
No, J.R.'s still there. I thought he was still there.
It was Shump that was traded.
Yeah, Shumpert was traded. I thought
it was LeBron.
I thought J.R. was traded too.
No, J.R. is still there. It was.
You sure about that?
Yeah. So regardless, my favorite comment of the entire free agency shakeup with Cleveland was a picture of Kevin Love where he was going like this. It's just a gif of him going like this, and it's like, what happened? This isn't my same team.
He was supposed to be traded if he didn't get hurt right before. I mean, otherwise, that's the only reason why Kevin Love is still on that team.
Now, we only got to see a few games of them together as a new team, and they were winning. Fine, I get that.
They
look good, right? But it's such. Go back to the same phrase. It's such a small sample size. We don't know what this team can really do together yet.
I don't think this is a sample size because at the end of the day, yes, they got younger, and I think maybe defensively they definitely got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you saw LeBron change the last couple of games. not the team, LeBron. He was fed up. He was tired of this team. He wanted everything to change. He stopped playing. And then, ooh, I got what I wanted. Everyone's gone. I have a new team.
Time to have fun. Right.
Now I'm playing again. He is a joke. And for everyone who says he is the best leader, he is the best player, he's a dominant player, but he's a child.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone call him the best leader.
He is a child on that court.
The best leader ever either.
Everyone does.
But
I don't never heard him call him a leader. Unless you're talking about the NBA analysts that have their hands in someone else's pockets. That's probably what you're talking about.
But the fact of the matter is, I don't think this team is Golden State worthy. I don't think they're Houston worthy.
Again, Golden State's an exception to the rule.
I think they're better than Boston at this point. I think they're definitely better than Boston at this point.
Boston has kind of gone downhill the last couple of weeks. They are not playing as good as they could be playing.
They did lose Marcus Smart, who's he's a big defensive part of their scheme as well.
I think they may actually be better without Marcus Smart.
No, not on defense.
Not on defense, but when he's shooting 20 shots a night, you've got a problem.
They actually had a stat the other night that talked about that said that the people that were replacing Marcus Smart actually shot worse than Marcus Smart was when he was playing. So to say that it's better offensively isn't accurate.
That's fine. You still don't want him shooting 20 shots.
It's statistically not accurate. The big part of the scheme is it not Tatum? No, is it Tatum? Tatum. His shooting went down considerably. So when you have someone that you've been able to rely on for those for that first half of the season, and then all of a sudden he starts to drop off towards the All-Star break, for a good 5 or 6 games, that's where you're going to have a problem.
Well, he's a rookie,
and then you lose,
and you're going to see.
But you lose the production from Tatum. You lose Marcus Smart for 2-3 weeks because on the defense. So now you don't have one of your better defensive players, and your best offensive player is coming down. Yeah, you're going to struggle. Kyrie can't do it all. He sure as heck tries.
Back to the Cavs.
I don't want to talk about the Cavs.
Well, this is not a Boston radio show. Back to the Cavs.
We hate the Cavs.
I'm not talking about how I like the Cavs. I'm just talking about how they had one of the better trade deadlines. What I was going to say is, have we ever seen a team that was in contention in any sport blow it up this much at the trade deadline? Because I was trying to think back, and I have not.
You say that they were in it. They were in 4th or 5th place.
But
in third.
In a power playoff seed, so in the top 4 of any, as far as goes, have we ever seen a team blow it up this much at the trade deadline? Because there's nothing that I can recall as far as massive amounts of roster movement that I have seen.
Not in my memory either. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Cavs are the ones who won this trade deadline.
Who do you think won the trade deadline?
Lakers did.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Lakers won that trade deadline by doing everything that they needed to do to sign everyone they needed to sign come offseason, which is very evident that is what's going to happen. I mean, Cleveland unloaded their entire team. They unloaded their draft picks. They have really not much left.
They still have the Brooklyn pick.
They have the one Brooklyn pick. Whoop-de-doo. All that is a safety blanket. And the only reason why they still have that pick is because they know as an organization they're not keeping LeBron James. It's a given.
Also, they're legally not allowed to trade that away anymore.
Okay, so what about the player survey that came out during the All-Star game that basically said, I think 66% of the people or the players that were surveyed anonymously said that LeBron's probably not going to go anywhere, that they expect him to stay with Cleveland next year.
I think Cleveland...
That's from the inside. That's from the inside of the NBA. That's stuff that we don't have access to.
Absolutely.
I think you look at the argument for LeBron to go stay in LA or go to Cleveland.
Stay in LA.
Stay in Cleveland or go to LA.
Slip.
At this point, why would you want to go to LA?
Because
they have cap space. Oh, you get to play the Warriors. You don't even get to the finals.
This has nothing about playing for the team. This has to do about him wanting to own an organization and wanting to figure out how the industry works. You don't learn how the industry works from Cleveland. You learn how the industry works from New York or Boston, or New York
LeBron
or LA.
James
That's
knows,
it.
Can learn about where the industry works from wherever the heck he wants to. He's LeBron James. He doesn't need to go to Los Angeles.
And he hates the ownership of Cleveland, so that doesn't work.
There's a rumor that Darren Gilbert has a handshake deal to sell the Cavs at the end of this year. It's been reported about 4 or 5 times now.
Yes, because he wants to keep LeBron there, but that's a joke. He's not going to sell the team so that LeBron stays. That doesn't do him any good.
I think he might be thinking about selling the team just to sell the team, because it's a great time to sell an NBA team right now, as it would go for a lot of
It's
money.
a smart move for him because, in all likelihood, in my opinion, LeBron is gone, whether it's this year or next year.
And
then you have nothing.
But
I
you
think
know
it's
damn
next
well,
year.
Then you have
know damn
nothing.
well that any contract that anyone's going to buy that team is going to have a contingency on whether or not LeBron James is still there next season. Because if he's not
That's
still
never gonna
there next
happen. No,
season,
they won't.
That's
yeah,
not
they
going to
will.
happen. That
No,
can't
because in the NBA, if you get a chance to own one of the 30 NBA teams, it does not matter who is on that roster because you are making money off that team regardless if LeBron James is there. You are making
but your value plummets without him.
LeBron James is not worth $200 million of value, okay? Like, if you look at
Did you see the city after he left? I mean, are you confused there?
it's still an NBA team.
Yeah, it's still an NBA team, but it doesn't have nearly the value as when he is there.
Still an NBA team with a loyal fan base that has a pretty decent NBA market that's better than some of the other NBA markets. Fact of the matter is
I agree with that.
it's the same thing as when an NFL team comes up for sale. If the Browns come up for sale, the Browns are getting millions of dollars bid on them because it's still a football team. The chances to buy these teams, it doesn't matter who you have on the roster, it's still a team.
It is still a team.
It's still a team. It's still going to be worth, it could fetch up to, what did the Clippers fetch? A couple billion? Like, the Cavs could fetch $1 billion.
That's LA.
That's
LA. That's LA.
This
But it was
is
like,
a simple
$3 billion
fact.
for the Cavs?
It's still it's LA.
This is a simple fact, Dustin. True or not true, if the team has a winning history in the last couple of years, they are more valuable or less valuable.
And the Cavs have been winning.
I think it depends on the.
Without LeBron, are they winning or are they losing?
And if
They're
and if I look at that roster, and I still think without LeBron and with a top 10 overall pick, that roster can still claw to a playoff spot in a pretty weak Eastern Conference. But it's the fact of the matter is that if an NBA team's up for sale, it's going for a boatload of money. Like, it doesn't matter.
There's no argument there, but
I don't
there's
know
going to be
why-
a drastic change.
I guess if LeBron wants to learn the industry and lose in the second round to the Lakers or not to the Lakers, to the Warriors or to the Rockets, he can. I guess if that's how he wants to end his career. But
So what if the rumors of a possible playoff shakeup happens? Does that change LeBron's mind about where he possibly could go in the
I
next
think it
year or
would.
so?
I think it would.
Because that's the rumors now through Adam Silver is that there would be a change in how the playoffs are seeded.
Just like what they did with the All-Star game, because it is no longer East and West. It doesn't work anymore.
I think what they said is they would have basically a draw for the 16 playoff teams, at least one, regardless of what the East and West is. So just overall records are your 1 through 16.
Yep.
I would love to see that. I don't know how you'd be able to initiate that without penalty of you can't just go right back to the old way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
you really have to think about if this is going to be good for the sport or not.
try it for 4 years, see if it works.
That's what I mean. I don't think you can do a trial base. I think if you're going to make this move, it's going to stick. It's
Yeah,
going to
it's
stay
gotta
there.
be done.
It's not going to be one of those things where we're going to have the fan base basically turn on the NBA and say, turn it back or we're not watching anymore, because once you make
I think
that move,
it's a
you have to
hard
keep-
way to fail, in all honesty, because there's no. Even if suddenly the shift moves back to the East, it still doesn't fail the system at all. And at the end of the day, there's been multiple eras where you've seen a shift of West or East being more dominant.
Every 10 years or so, it goes back.
I would say most recently, yeah, it's the West.
It's the West who've just kind of held on to it for a lot longer than.
You can thank the Spurs for that
been-
and the Lakers for that.
But I think it's a great way to kind of separate this up a little bit. And because at the end of the day, right now, no one cares about the NBA championship game. They didn't last year. They didn't really care about
wanted
There's no such thing as an
and Curry.
NBA championship game.
Well, they
G.
wanted to, though. You say they didn't, but they wanted to, because you got your, was it round 3?
Round 3 of that.
So you kind of did get what you wanted.
But
You
there
wanted
was
the
more
best versus
hype.
the best.
There was more hype for the NBA or the Western Conference Finals
How
than
many
there
games?
was for.
What did the Western
that.
Conference Final? Because we were saying how hyped we were, but it didn't go all 7.
No, it went.
So it didn't really.
5.
Yeah. So I mean, you say that we were really excited for it, but didn't really deliver like we wanted to.
No, but last year Golden State was just miles ahead of everyone.
Gee, I
They're
wonder
not
why.
miles ahead of everyone anymore. Teams have kind of
Hey,
narrowed
I'm
that
all
gap.
for a shakeup, because I think we've said the last few years that the Western Conference Finals should be the finals game, and now with this potential playoff seeding, change, you could get that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'd be great to see that. Now I think you also risk having your best teams it's just the West facing each other, and then the East get kind of
There'll always be 3 or 4 teams in the East that would be good enough to hold that spot. Like the Raptors, for example, the Celtics. Like there'd be enough teams.
I would say there's probably 5 or 6 teams in the East that
if you're taking 16 teams, like you'll probably end up with 9, 10 Western Conference teams and 6 or 7 Eastern Conference, depending on how.
I'm talking more when we get towards like the end of that bracket there. So when you have your, your Golden State, your Rockets, your like your Spurs, like those are your team, or something. Just for example, you have those 3. You say you have those 3 teams that are going at it like they have the last 3 or 4 years. Then you have one Eastern team. I think that's where you're going to start to see a lot of that attention kind of drift towards the West, and the Eastern teams are going to get a little more upset. Those owners are going to get a little more upset with things that they really can't do much about. We have this argument all the time when it comes to college football. Where are they able to recruit players? In the SEC, because those are the teams that seem to keep winning. So then you have these other schools that complain because they can't recruit. That's going to be the same difference if you have
just eyeballing it. If we were to take the top 16 teams right now, so you'd have the top team.
Top 4, Dustin.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, I thought you were talking about taking
top 4 when it gets down to the end of the bracket.
I mean, the top 4 teams in the NBA right now would be the Rockets, the Raptors, the Warriors, and the Celtics, if you're going by record. So 2 from the East, 2 from the West.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the thing I don't know. That's why I'm bringing that up. But
if you were to take
if you were looking at it right now, if you're looking at where they possibly would end up with those 3 teams, you're probably taking the 3 from the West, and in all likelihood, Cleveland.
Yeah, probably.
So
no, I think Toronto will hold on to the top spot in the East.
Toronto's got a chance to make some noise in the playoffs this year. But also, if you were going to go from 1 for 16 like we're talking about right now, you'd have the 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, and then you'd have 6 teams from the 8 from the West and the 6 from the East. And then you'd have a race between the Sixers, the Heat, and the Clippers and the Jazz for those last couple spots right there.
Which you already know the Clippers gave up on their season. So
even if you were to go 1 for 16, there still isn't going to be like, there's going to be 16 teams from the West. It's still going to be
the reason I do like it is that there's no cut line anymore for NBA. So it's not like, we're the 8th seed, we're in, because maybe your 8th seed is not as good as number 5 or something like that on the other side, or 10 rather on the other side. So I like the whole take the best teams available.
I do too.
Way better than I do. As soon as we get to 8, we're good. We're in. No worries. We're going to face the 1 seed. We're going to get blown out. Whatever. Like, it's not that kind of case anymore. Maybe you only have 4, 5, 6 teams from the East or vice versa. And I like that a lot better because it just shows that the NBA is serious about putting the best talent forward in the playoffs.
The only thing that I'd be worried about is I think it almost could kind of drop a nuke on the Eastern Conference to the point of you've seen so much of that talent move west. If you did that, you would take away any real drive to get any talent to go back east. To say,
and that's what I was saying.
To go
that's
back
what
east
I was saying
and say,
earlier.
I can at least come over here and get to the playoffs, where it's not even a guarantee anymore. It's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
what did you think about just kind of changing? That's what I was getting at. Absolutely, is that now the draw from the East is like, I don't want to go there anymore. What do you think about Kobe Bryant's comments about the Lakers? How they shouldn't have to recruit. You should want to play for the Lakers.
Yeah, I loved it, and I think it's pretty simple. I think you look at certain organizations. I think you look at certain athletes, certain people, and you don't go because they're telling you to go. You go because you looked up and you watched and you play because of them, because of that place. And I think that's kind of the highlight. I mean, you have 2 major markets in basketball, and it's New York and it's LA.
And one of those markets has just had a trash team for the entirety of my life.
You say market, but it's not. I mean, you keep bringing up New York, but there's not a lot of things.
There's not a lot of basketball success in New York City.
Not in a while, but New York is still rated the 2nd best organization in basketball behind the Lakers.
How'd that work for Melo?
So, but at the end of the day, you look at a place like LA, and it's just, if you want to be a legend, why wouldn't you want to be on LA? Because that's where legends are. That's where you have more people to choose from for a starting 5 of all time than anyone can reasonably put a starting 5 out there, because they can't make the choice. That's the place you want to play.
I will dispute that a little bit, because yes, LA has a great history. Yes, it is one of the greatest, look, you can have starting 5s from each team. But there have been plenty of legends that have come from places that are not LA. You don't have to go to LA to make a name for yourself.
I didn't say that. I
But
said
I think
you want
I think you're getting at you want to be part of the legacy.
you want to be part of the legacy, but I think we're starting to see a shift in the NBA where, legacies 20 years from now, kids will grow up with the legacy of the Golden State Warriors. Kids will grow up with the legacy of the Cleveland Cavaliers teams that had made the finals. But
this is the only difference between a place like LA and a place like Golden State. LA can survive when they're not good. Golden State can't. Cleveland cannot survive when they're not good. It's the difference. LA always thrives.
We've seen that in Cleveland. I don't think you can make that. There's so much. There's just a surge of new basketball fans that are happening in Golden State. I think it's too soon to say they won't be able to succeed if they're not good.
What are you talking about surviving? That's my question. What do you mean by survive?
The organization is you are not going to carry fan bases from all across the country for a team that's not winning championship after championship. LA Lakers, they don't care. There are fans for LA all across the country all the time.
All across the world.
Doesn't matter if they're good. That's the difference. And you can't tell me that Golden State
fans around the world is because of really honestly one man.
Yeah.
I have a cousin that just got himself a Steph Curry shirt. Doesn't care about Golden State, cares about Steph Curry.
That is the difference between a legacy organization and a winning organization. Two different things.
I think the NBA is starting to change where the smaller market teams can carry those fan bases because I think if in 10 years the Warriors have a 5-year stretch of bad years, I think they'll be able to carry plenty of fans with the new arena, with the way they're building the team right now. But I don't know. I guess I understand your point about the legacy teams, but just because a team like the Lakers is a legacy team does not mean that all your NBA legends should just flock to LA at the first chance.
That's not what I said, though.
But
I said it's a reason why it would drive you to go there. You don't get recruited to play for a team like LA. You say when you're a kid, that's where I want to play. That was my team. That's my place.
And we're going to have a lot more kids growing up who have grown up watching your Russell Westbrooks, your Spurs dynasty, your Golden State Warriors. You're going to have a lot more kids.
Let's leave Spurs out of it a little bit. But
they won a title more recently than the Lakers.
That's not why I'm leaving them out of it. You look at a place like Oklahoma, you look at a place like Golden State, yeah, they're good when they're good. They can't carry that when they're bad. They can't hold on to superstar talent like the other teams can, like a big money organization.
State can't hold on to superstar talent when they went out and got Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant got them.
I'm talking about a place like Oklahoma City, which is the name I said. Not Golden State. I said Oklahoma City. You can't look at a small market place and say they're going to be able to keep the talent. You're telling me the Bucks are going to keep Antetokounmpo? No, they're not. They're not going to be able to maintain him. He's going to want to go play for a mainstream organization. That's as simple as it can get. Kyrie Irving, regardless of LeBron James' drama, doesn't want to play for Cleveland. He wants to play for a mainstream team.
What about the Pelicans? The Pelicans held on to Anthony Davis. They gave him the Supermax. He decided to stay.
We're talking about a center and a team in a league that's dominated by point guards.
Isn't that an extreme, though? You're giving him max contract. Clearly, he's going to stay for a max contract as opposed to not play.
That's the thing. These small markets can keep some of these guys because they have the ability to give them
But they're only going to be able to
max.
keep one or two guys, though. I think what he's trying to say is to build an actual franchise, build a team around it. If you sign one person, signing Anthony Davis to a max contract isn't going to draw more people in because they don't have the money to do that.
Well, I think they were going to keep Cousins this summer, but he tore his ACL, so that'll be interesting to see.
He tore his Achilles, not his ACL.
Well, his Achilles, whatever he tore. But I'm just saying,
Achilles?
I'm saying that the small market versus big market dynamic, I think in the next 10 years, my prediction is that it will change. Of course, you're going to always have people who will go to the Lakers and will go to the Knicks, but it won't be as big as it had been recently.
I can't wait to laugh at you in 10 years.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Because it's a given.
Lakers haven't made the playoffs in what, 5 years?
I lied. He does not have months of getting away without me yelling
That's
at
true.
him.
That's very true. Let's do what we do every show. We bring it back to Franklin County and to Vermont. I want to talk a little bit of home field advantage here. Playoffs are starting out with playoffs are about to begin, I should say, high school sports. On the top of your list for hockey, you have your BFA boys, your BFA girls. Locally, and your MVU girls as well that I think are fighting this week for number 1 seed in Division II hockey.
No, they're not. They're fighting for the 3 seed, but
no, they're in second place right now. So Well, they were as of yesterday anyway. So, and then you also have in basketball as well going on. So Dustin wanted to talk a little bit more about.
Yeah, I want to talk about
sports.
that. It's going to be a very good playoff season for us in Franklin County. You know, we have girls teams. You know, you have two girls. Started to coach Coffee at BFA last night. Comets won again 2-0. They will have a home playoff game next week. They should have 2 rounds home. Missisquoi is fighting for that second seed.
I'm only the program coordinator.
So they're 4 points behind Stowe right now, index points wise. South Burlington will most likely overtake them with 1 game left.
So they beat South Burlington.
South Burlington beat them though.
No.
They split 1-1.
Right.
But
14-2. They don't have many. They only have 1 game left, Dustin.
yeah, they have 1 game left. So in the 1 game left, Missisquoi will not be able to jump
Stowe if they lose. Oh, sorry, you said. No, if they lose.
So if
Anyway,
South Burlington plays one
great
more,
TV.
so if South Burlington plays, if South Burlington wins their last game,
everyone look at Dustin's laptop.
regardless of what Missisquoi does in their last game, South Burlington should jump them because they would have more index points. But the way the VPA does seeding is weird. But we're going to have a lot of good playoff action here. You know, the Comets and the Bob Whites for both. The Bob Whites are looking for what, their 4th straight D1 title or 3rd straight D1 title?
3rd straight.
They've only lost 1 game, and we had it on Northwest Access TV, an overtime loss. And then you have both the girls and boys basketball teams for BFA have paths to the Final Four. It would be kind of an upset for either to get to the Final Four. But
I really want to put an asterisk on BFA boys. They're on a winning streak right now. They're all against Division II teams.
Yeah,
I don't understand that reasoning for Matt Toof to be able to schedule the end of the season all against D2. I don't know if it's a confidence booster or not, but those aren't the teams you're going to be playing.
No,
so
you need to play the better
I was very confused when I was looking at their schedule, going, "Wait a minute, they've only played Division II teams the second half of the season." So it's just really weird to see that.
it's the way they have their
What
schedule.
was their last Division I game?
A couple weeks
Middlebury?
ago against Middlebury.
And out of that, that's the last time they had that was
D1
middle
team.
of
They played
January.
Milton, a higher D2 team. Then they played 2 teams in D2 that are not going anywhere.
So for almost a month and a half, they've only played 1 Division I team. That's
it's
very
just
odd
the way
to see
they
that.
schedule. And then in Enosburg, we have a girls team that is towards the top of the table, and a boys team in D2 who, not towards the top of the table. I think they'll have a home game.
No, I don't think so.
I think the boys. I thought they were going to have a home
And
game.
Richford on both sides, they are towards the bottom. MVU girls, I think, have the same amount of wins as MVU boys do this year. We're just saying a lot for their organization, not so much for the boys.
The boys for MBU, Coach Bose was playing a JV team this year, which I applaud him for because he did a really good job with them, but he was practically playing a JV team this year.
Well, he lost a lot of seniors.
That
last
team
year.
will be very good in 2 years. They're 3-14, which is not great this year. Not last.
3-14 is not great.
Not last in D2 though. Not last, but
They were for a long time this year.
But
Those wins have come recently.
But for practically throwing a JV team out there against D1, D2 basketball teams,
I'll never understand the state and playing D2 teams against a D1.
No.
I don't get it.
it's just because of the way the VPA. Don't get me started on the VPA. But we have some great playoff action that'll be coming your way. We do have the ability to do a good amount of these games live, I believe.
Yep. So towards the end of the season, actually, we're going to be live tonight for Enosburg versus BFA basketball here at BFA, along with St. Johnsbury versus BFA girls basketball tomorrow. Next week, there's a couple more games, but playoffs start very soon for hockey. Starts next week. I believe BFA boys and girls hockey will have buys as well as MVU girls.
They'll play next.
So they'll play Saturday.
But BFA girls will play next Friday.
And the boys will play on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll take those games live. We're able to take games live through the VPA up until they get to Gutterson or Patrick Gym. So once our teams get there, we won't be able to take them live, which is kind of disappointing, but we still will be able to cover it, and you'll be able to see the replay on Northwest Access TV in the coming weeks. So we're really excited about that. And we're excited to bring live hockey, live playoffs, and honestly.
The responses have been great. I've talked to a lot of people who are very happy to see what we've had. I've had a lot of fun doing it this year. It's one of my favorite things. It's nice to be able to do some of these games live for once. It's, a testament to the work we have going on between you and Zach here in the studio. It's been a lot of fun this year. I'm excited for the playoffs. We have good teams up here like we always do. And, it's been a very fun winter sports season. It'll be interesting to see how, with the last couple of weeks, it ends.
Nextly, for home field advantage, before we get to the end of the show, JT and I would like to just show this puppy off. This is the 2018 Winter Carnival Snow Bowl Championship. I said to JT afterwards, I feel like there should be an asterisk with this. The team we played, that I've actually played with over the fall, in part the end of the summer and part of the fall with some guys that we've partnered with from Houghton Park here in St. Albans. But honestly, the guys that we've played with have been a great group of guys. We played them on Sunday at the Winter Carnival, but we didn't. We had a lot more players than they did. I think it was like 11 to 6 or something like that. They just had some guys that had to bow out at the last minute, and we just had fresh legs going in there. So there weren't a lot of teams that signed up, just the 2. So we took them at a best-of-5 series, and I think we won by 20 points each game or something like that. So while it's nice and everything to win the trophy, I guess we'll just soak it in like, hey, look what we did. This was a goal we set out for 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, rather. This is the 3rd year for it, and we were able to take it home. So this is also my first year able to play after JT fractured my ankle the first year, and then I got the flu the 2nd year. So
I want to give a big shout-out to the recreation department. They did a great job with the Winter Carnival this year. What they did for the kids, what they did for the adults, it was fantastic to see the amount of people actually there this year, because the last couple of years it really was just kind of like a ghost town and just a few little things going on.
Yep.
And that was fantastic to see. So keep it up. And if you are interested in playing football, something you got to get into. It's a lot of fun playing that game, and we can always use and or find teams for you to play.
It's different to play for the snowball because the snow and the ice is such an equalizer when it comes to talent. It's not, you can't, there's no stop and go.
You mean I won't get beat on post routes every single time?
No, you will.
Yeah, you will.
No, you still will.
I still will?
Yeah, you still will. Because that's basically the entire game was post route. So.
And on your butt on the ice.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, kudos to our team, BTS, that was able to do that, to take home the championship. I know we had a bunch of our guys that were just really excited to finally get over that hump and beat these guys, beat the other team from Houghton Park that they've played every year so far in the finals.
Yep.
So very cool. And that just adds
dodgeball coming up too.
dodgeball, I believe, is coming up. There's no real talks coming right now. No rumors that that's actually happening this year. So so we'll see. I want to leave you with one of my favorite segments of the week, and that's Dustin Tanner's Just Trash. So Dustin, please tell the folks at home. You can address the cameras if you like.
My Just Trash of this week is going to be NBC Olympic coverage, because instead of putting some of the events we want to see on at 11 o'clock, such as like the girls' hockey game for the gold medal on NBC, where you have no other programming on at this point, you put it on NBC Sports
People
Network.
need their Jimmy Fallon.
No,
Dustin.
they don't. The fact of the matter is that NBC has done a terrible job with their coverage of the Olympics, because they've put good events.
You need a better cable package.
I shouldn't have to pay for a
I
cable
need a better cable package. I've been watching
I've
everything.
been able to watch everything.
I'm watching everything. I'm recording everything.
I mean, I've been able to watch most of stuff,
Just this
but-
morning, I got kicked off because of I wasn't logged into my Xfinity. Logged in, got to watch the end of the curling match.
I guess I just find
disagree
it
with
frustrating that for some of the events that are gold standard events, like I understand figure skating is an Olympic event, but the fact of the matter is I've been able to catch more figure skating on NBC than the hockey games, and I've had to go to NBC Sports Network and I've had to find it, and it's like it's a little frustrating how they do it.
I guess for your non-cable provider or whatever satellite provider, something like that. Yeah, it's
and it's not like they have to bump anything to put some of these events like. It's 11 or 12
I do remember.
o'clock at night.
I do remember in years past you were able to at least go online on whether it's the Olympic website or the NBC website
and
be able
to
watch it and watch it live if you wanted.
But now you need the cable provider, and now that's super frustrating. And that is who my Just Trash is this week, is NBC's Olympic coverage.
It shouldn't be necessarily NBC. It should just be the cable companies, because that's what
Those
they
are the
have
ones.
done.
Those are the ones that are choking you dry from being.
NBC's owned by
watch
Comcast,
it.
so there you go.
NBC's that's fine.
That's true.
Like I said, I've been able to watch everything. I watched women's hockey last night. Kudos to the women's team finally being able to
gold medal
to get that gold medal over Canada. The fact that it went down to a shootout at the end was just fantastic.
It's the way you want to see that kind of a game end.
There were a lot of times where USA got penalties and that weren't necessarily penalties. So I'm glad it didn't end in that sense. They fought hard for every goal that they scored. So that was really cool to see. That's going to do it for this week for us on Huddle Up. We'll be back hopefully next week with we'll start a new streak, consecutive streak.
I mean, I'll be back next week. I don't know about JT.
I'll be back. And then the following week, you guys are on your own because I'll be in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fine with that. JT, Dustin, I'm Paul. We'll see you next week on Huddle Up here on Northwest Access TV.